Just imagine you have completed 40 prepared speeches, been the area director, completed a high-performance leadership project, and sponsored a new club. You now have the Distinguished Toastmasters accolade. What do you do next? Fellow Toastmasters, lucky for me, along comes Pathways just in time. I chose presentation mastery and set out my vision in my icebreaker entitled The Problem with the Pause. It went something along the lines of, today, as I start out on Pathways, I will be exploring the importance of conscious listening. The embark will be a portfolio of talks and workshops that I can take on the road to Accredited Speaker. Well, lesson number 1. That hasn't been that easy to create talks around the subject of conscious listening. The projects that you need to complete don't necessarily follow that pattern. Lesson number 2 is that it's not that easy to get paid speaking opportunities, even if you really want to get accredited speaker status. Wishing McHarrie won't make it happen. And so to Pathways Level 1, Mastering the Fundamentals in Public Speaking. With gusto, I got through Level 1 in 3 months, with all speeches around conscious listening. Yay! As you can see, everyone does the same projects regardless of what path they are on. Top tip number 1 for those starting out: watch out for Project 2, as the people have a tendency to misread what this project entails. There are 2 speeches and a verbal evaluation to complete. You are required to coordinate this with the Vice President of Education. Top tip number 2, whilst Basecamp insists that you complete your project step by step, you can pretend you have completed a project so that you can open the next one and see what else needs to be done. If you're someone like me who likes to plan where she's going in advance, then you might find that useful. Sadly, you can't move on to the next level until the Vice President of Education confirms that you've completed the speeches. Stepping up to Level 2. Learning your style into communication skills. Now, each pathway starts to take a different route. There are 8 different projects within Level 2, and you're required to do 3 of them. These are chosen for you, so you only have access to the material in 3 of those. Top tip number 3. Download the full project PDF and send it to your evaluator so that they can see what it is that you've been learning. If they are on a different path to you, it will help them to assess your performance in context and give you better feedback. Lesson number 3. Having signed off Level 2 after Introduction to Toastmaster Mentoring, I have found that I have access to the optional mentor program. Yay! So excited! I didn't think I was going to be able to access this until I'd completed one whole pathway. But no, I can be doing this alongside my current pathway. I just can't claim the mentor award until I complete my first path. A new goal for me this year. Top tip number 4. It costs nothing extra to get access to this learning resource. Highly recommend that you do this as soon as you've completed Level 2. There are 3 projects that will take you the best part of a year to complete within the mentor program. Stepping up to Level 3, increasing knowledge, strategic leadership. You'll note that there are 10 projects of which you're required only to complete 1. If you look carefully at the titles, you'll get the gist that these are starting to take on a leadership feel. Again, you will only have access to your required project, so the same issue applies when you're evaluating. Mine was persuasive speaking. I organised the great debate at Signature House with Bev, Chris and myself arguing against Caroline, Rick and Doug. They were a formidable team and well deserved to win. Grr. Lesson number 4. Taking part in a debate was tough to organise and not what I would call great fun, but hugely entertaining and a massive learning curve. Do it again, McHarrie, if you get the chance. Then you have the choice of 13 projects, of which you need to complete a further 2. And these you can view on Basecamp. At last, hurrah! I chose active listening and vocal variety as they seem to lend themselves to my conscious listening theme. Top tip number 5. If you choose to do active listening, which is about taking on the role of Table Topics Master, do advise the Table Topics Evaluator, as it's a slightly different way of doing that role. Rosie, the evaluator that evening, was just a tad put out. This speaking role also needs to be evaluated, so you will need to get the Vice President of Education to add it to the agenda. Stepping up to level 4, building skills management. We now have 9 leadership projects, of which only 1 you're required to complete. Again, you will only have access to that 1. Then there are 8 managerial projects, which you choose to do just 1. My required speech was managing a difficult audience, a role play. Yuck! I hate role plays. But lesson number 5. Whilst it will feel false and the feedback may feel a little unjust, this is another opportunity to put into practice what you have learned in case you have a difficult audience in the future. Top tip number 6. When you come to these more complex projects, you may need to discuss with the Vice President of Education in greater detail what you need from the audience. You may also find you need to talk through with your mentor what you might do as a leadership stroke management project. It is worth applying a bit of lateral thinking and maybe a little planning. I knew at the beginning of this year that I would do the podcast project, only because it kind of fitted with the conscious listening theme. Having identified that I needed to do an hour's worth of podcasting, I started back in January. Top tip number 7. I found that many of the handouts, or as they call them, resources, are available via Basecamp. Have a look around. You'll be surprised what you can download for free in advance of your project. Since I didn't have the project details to learn from because I started early, I had to learn via various online sources. It wasn't hard, and when it came to complete the online learning, I wasn't far off the mark. Lesson number 6. Don't wait. If you want to do it, Laura, give it a go. Stepping up to level 5. Demonstrating expertise, building confidence. As you will see here, the projects are becoming significantly biased towards leadership and management activities. They do entail giving a speech, but they are all in relation to a specific project or activity. There are 2 required projects to complete and 1 elective. At the moment, I'm going with the idea of moderating a panel discussion. It kind of suits conscious listening. Maybe March, perhaps April next year. I have my speaking professionally entitled Talk to the Hand booked for November, and today I have been reflecting on my path. My final reflection, the Hark Embark, the working title of my Pathways Plan for Conscious Listening. I haven't achieved what I wanted to with that, but I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm happy with the knowledge that I have of the Pathways programme, and fellow Toastmasters, I'm always happy to help you stride along yours.